It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do, you do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, coming off a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, John Riley. We welcome you to this podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. You've got projects for the spring, the summer, for the fall. Think DIXIELINE Lumber. Build it, fix it, guarantee you will like it. Courtesy of DIXIELINE. Go to DIXIELINE.com to see all the things they have to offer to you. John, we have got a busy week ahead of us. Yes, we talk a ton of baseball on this podcast, but we're going to be bouncing basketball, shooting three-point hoops. We're going to be taking slap shots because the NHL is just around the corner. We're talking draft. We're talking free agency. Really busy time as we move June into July.
Yeah, and we had Game 7 last night, and there was a lot of drama there. So this is a lot of basketball at the top of the list for Hacksaw's Headlines.
Couple of items, business notes. If you like sports, I want you to check my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. It's written. I write on it every day. It's posted. It's there for you first thing in the morning. You might be just a baseball fan, or you're just amped about the NFL, or you follow closely pro basketball or pro hockey. You're into auto racing, golf, whatever. I cover it all. Check the website. Do it daily. leehacksawhamilton.com. In addition, Hacksaw's Insiders Group. When you join, you'll get 2 emails a day, different special stuff we provide for those of you on the Insiders Group. It's absolutely free. Just go to my homepage website and just fill out the orange box there. Get on the email list. Want you on social media? Want you part of my Twitter All-Star team? I put a lot of stuff up on X. Just type in my name, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, or at Hacksaw1090. Hit the follow button. Want you to share. Want you to subscribe. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. And when you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get alerts every time we put additional videos up on the YouTube channel. We do that quite often during the course of the week. And after we put all the topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, after we do that, we give you, the fans, the opportunity to pile in, pile on, pour out your opinions. It's called Fans Forum. John is the one that created this. John's responsible for it. John, talk to your friends about what Fans Forum is.
Okay, so yeah, pile in, pile on. So if you have any questions in the world of sports for Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, maybe you got a hot take on the Dodger-Padre rivalry, or maybe you see something cooking with the NFL draft and the NFL trade rumors, get on board. Get on board on our live chat on either X, YouTube, or Facebook to get involved in Fans Forum.
Fans Forum coming up right at the end of this podcast, so make sure you stay with us as we cover all the topics on the table. Let's talk NBA basketball because we saw something last night. We're going to see things this Wednesday, and we're waiting for more trades to happen. It's a real busy time.
Yeah, Kevin Durant on the move.
Yeah, let's start first of all with the Phoenix Suns-Houston Rockets transaction. The deal came down on Sunday. The big story is Kevin Durant is moved. New ownership in Phoenix wanted to make changes. Durant goes to the Houston Rockets, who are a very young basketball team looking for veteran leadership. An 8-for-1 trade for a guy that's going to be 37. That's the stunner to me. Houston gave up Jalen Green, one of their really bright young forwards. Young guy, athletic, can run the court. A little streaky shooting, but they gave him up in the transaction. They gave up tough guy, gritty guy, Dylan Brooks. They gave up a lottery pick at number 10. And they gave up 5 second-round draft picks down road. It winds up being an 8-for-1 transaction for Kevin Durant. Now, Houston still got a lot of firepower people on that roster. And Durant goes to Houston as a stabilizer who's going to play a chunk of minutes. But he's had 3 straight years with a bunch of nagging injuries. He's got 300,000 miles on the odometer. So that's a bit of a surprise that Houston paid such an extensive price. They broke the heart of the Toronto Raptors. The Suns were really interested in Durant. Toronto was offering a number 1. They were offering guard R.J. Barrett, but they would not put Jacob Poeltl, their center, in that deal, so that went away. They talked extensively to Miami. Miami was willing to offer only one number 1. They were willing to put people like Duncan Robinson and Jaime Jaquez, but they were not willing to put one of the big young centers where in the deal, so Miami lost out. They talked to Minnesota. Minnesota was willing to put a number 1 in there for Durant, but Phoenix asked for Rudy Gobert, and Minnesota was not willing to give him up. And then when they asked for Jaden McDaniels, that conversation ended. And they did talk to San Antonio, but San Antonio, I think, wants to keep its assets. They wanted 2 number 1s from San Antonio, a couple of number 2s, and they wanted this young guard who they think has got great upside by the name of Devin Vassell. So at the end of the day, this was the best offer they could get for an aging guy. He'll go in, but the question is, can he play tons of minutes? Will he be the veteran leader? I just don't know that he's a dynamic personality. Still a good player, but not a leader as I view it. 8 for 1 to me is a pretty stiff price for a 37-year-old player. And John Riley says,
I remember when he got traded from the Nets to the Suns, and then the Suns give up like 4 number 1 picks.
Yes.
So that 8 for 1, I mean, a lot of those guys are not really number 1 pick caliber parts of the deal, are they? I mean, do you think
it was 5 number 2s in the transaction?
Yeah. So Phoenix didn't get equal value back that they gave up to get Durant in the first place, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But they rid themselves of a 37-year-old player.
Okay. And he's got to start showing declining skills, but his numbers are still like, what is he still averaging? Like 27,
24 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, etc.
Okay.
But I don't know that he's a leader.
Oh, no, not at all.
So Kevin Durant goes to the Houston Rockets. We're not done. There's more deals to come, and some of these deals are going to involve draft picks, which means these transactions are going to occur before Wednesday night when the first round of the NBA draft is held. Let's just go through the list here. Boston's got significant luxury tax salary cap problems for the new owners. The rumor everywhere out of New England is they're going to trade 2 of their veteran players. They're going to try to move Kristaps Porzingis, the 7-foot shooting center, who's had a history of injuries and has never, ever panned out to be what they thought he would be. They're looking at moving Porzingis, and they're going to move Jrue Holiday. Holiday is the one that's played a real vital role from a veteran leader standpoint with a building Boston Celtics team. The next one is the Lakers. The Lakers are trying really hard to make a deal to get a center. I like this player, but I don't know if this player fits what the Lakers want to be. The Lakers evidently are closing in, trying to make the deal to get Utah Jazz center Walker Kessler. He's a 7-footer, averaged 11 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 block shots per game, plays lots of minutes, and is a young guy. He's just big and lumbering. He doesn't run the floor. So how are you going to have a push-the-tempo basketball team with a center that's always trailing the play? They're talking to other clubs about different deals. It sure looks like the Lakers are going to have to give up a number 1, the only number 1 they can trade. They're going to have to give up Dalton Knecht. Rui Hachimura might be in the transaction. I don't know if Kessler's the right guy, but he's the youngest guy of the group of rim protectors that the Lakers are looking at. Lakers are also talking about a secondary deal. I don't think the price would be very high. They would get Marcus Smart, who's moved around the NBA. Pretty good guard, defensive specialist in the backcourt. He's currently with the Washington Wizards. He was in Memphis prior to that. He's in Sacramento. He's got a history of injury, though, but he can still play. So keep an eye. The Lakers are going to do one thing. The Lakers might do 2 things before the start of the draft on Wednesday. Sacramento, which is constantly changing pieces. I've never forgiven Sacramento for the transaction in which they let go DeAndre Fox when he went to San Antonio at the trade deadline. Sacramento's trying to move DeMar DeRozan. He may wind up going to Miami in a transaction. Minnesota's talking about shopping Naz Reid or Julius Randle in some type of sign-and-trade transaction where those guys can opt out, become free agents. And the New York Knicks, who don't have a coach, Knickerbockers are evidently waiting for Friday when the free agent window opens. The Knickerbockers are interested in adding chemistry guys to this whole mixed bag of guys that they've got led by Jalen Brunson. They're interested in Al Horford of Boston and CP3, Chris Paul of San Antonio. Those are chemistry guys, off the bench guys who are guys who contribute. So it's good. To me, it's fascinating what's going to happen. All this in the next 72 hours till we get to the draft Wednesday night at 5 p.m. So, John, I threw a lot of stuff there. Your thoughts on Boston? Jrue Holiday to the Clippers. Does that make sense at his age? Lakers, you like Walker Kessler? Go ahead. Pick a team, pick a topic. Pick and roll me some opinions.
Pick and roll me. Okay. So, I some of these veterans, it might make sense to move them around, but I'm thinking, man, why not just rebuild through the draft? I mean, for a lot of these teams, like for example, the Lakers, they don't have a number one, do they? They
have one pick and one number one they can trade. It's not till 2031. They've traded everything away.
Well, but they have number twos, right?
Yeah, but number twos mean much lesser of potential ball player.
Yeah. So hear me out on this theory. So we've talked a lot about how the NBA is changing and that we're not getting
athletically.
Yeah, we're not getting these big aircraft carrier guys like Shaq, but that's kind of what the Lakers need. I mean, right? To be the complement to LeBron and Luka. So maybe the market, the way it shifted going for these big guys like Miles Turner or Chet Holmgren, maybe that opens up a window for them to get a really good big man in the second round or, low price in a trade.
Problem is big man second round is not so good project.
But the point is that the other teams aren't looking at that talent. They're looking for, wings. They're going to shoot threes. They're looking for guys to play hella defense along the perimeter. They're not looking for the big guy because it's out of fashion. And I'm just thinking that counter strategy could work to the Lakers' advantage.
So you're telling me you don't like the idea of Walker Kessler, Utah, who can score and is a shot blocker, but he's a plotter.
Yeah, well, how old is he?
Young.
He's still young. Okay, so then maybe there's a chance with that guy, but the strategy I think is similar, right? You're going for these big guys,
but he's not a guy who runs the floor.
Well, then maybe one of those guys is going to be in the draft in the second round. Maybe they're going to leak down that low.
Their pick is 55.
Yeah, when did they pick Bronny? I mean, that was like 55 or something.
53.
Yeah.
Project.
Yes.
Okay. That's all things NBA. You're a pro basketball fan. Want your opinion? Feel free to dive in here. Tell us what you think. Let's talk about the draft board specifically.
Yeah, look at that. And the Mavs got the number one.
Mavs have gone through such a painful thing. Holy cow. The Luka Doncic trade, the anger, the resentment, the losing. Then they get Anthony Davis. He plays one game and gets hurt. Then Kyrie Irving explodes and goes down, season-ending knee injury. And the Mavericks are just a disaster. And now all of a sudden, they got the number one pick in the draft. And here comes Cooper Flagg. This guy from Duke, complete package. He checks off all the boxes. So now Dallas all of a sudden has got Cooper Flagg, a healthy Anthony Davis, a soon-to-be healthy Kyrie Irving, and a bunch of big men, young, athletic guys. Suddenly it's a very different team thanks to Cooper Flagg. So he goes number one. San Antonio's keeping their second pick, and they're trying to figure out what to get. Everybody says they're going to take Dylan Harper, instant offense, 6'4" shooting guard, Rutgers. Pretty good basketball player. They think that he is knowledgeable and he knows the game and he's phenomenally athletic. He goes number two. Philadelphia's got the third pick in the draft. And VJ Edgecombe, 6'4" guard with enormous length out of Baylor, can stroke it, can shoot it. He's got good upside. In fact, they think he's got the most upside of anybody in the first round. Edgecombe is going to Philadelphia, which was wrecked last year by injuries. In Charlotte, which is stockpiling all those young guys, but they keep losing, Charlotte's going to take the kid from their own backyard. They're going to take Con Kneppel, the three-point shooting guard forward from Duke, 40% shooting from the arc. He's going to Charlotte, sitting there at 4. After that, it gets strange. Utah's got 5. Utah, we think, is going to take the guy that might have the most offensive, explosive game. His name is Trey Johnson, 6'5" guard from the University of Texas. It looks like Utah's going to take him, and he can score. And then Washington is at 6. And what we've seen, they're going to wind up taking this kid, Ace Bailey. He's also out of Rutgers. Ace Bailey was supposed to be the second player on the draft board. He's refused to visit a whole bunch of teams because he doesn't want to play for these teams, and his stock has gone down the board. Evidently, he's gone from what would have been the second pick, like a Shedeur Sanders attitude. He's dropped to 6, but I think he's going to Washington. The problem with Ace Bailey, he can score. He's young and he's athletic at 6'4", plays like he's 6'8". Has to be convinced that there is a defensive end of the. He don't play any defense at all, but he's positioned himself with his attitude. He's dropped down the board. He's going to drop to number 6. So that's the top picks on the draft board. Now, names to pay attention to when we get to Wednesday, after we get through the top 6. Kemon Malua, Duke's 7-foot center, has gone up the board. He's going to get drafted probably inside the top 10. Jeremiah Fears, really good scoring guard, Oklahoma. Noah Asengwe out of Germany, a 6'10 forward. He could go in the top 10. Kid we saw in the NCAA tournament played really well, wide body guy, Derek Queen, power center forward, Maryland. He's going to probably go in that maybe top 10. Just outside the top 10, hardworking grinder of a forward. His name is Leon McNeely from UConn. He had a really impressive freshman season. Kid we saw out here is probably going to go in the top 15, maybe 15 to 20. Played in the Mountain West Conference. Nick Clifford, Colorado State, pretty good basketball player. Young guy, explosive guy out of Washington State, Cedric Coward, is probably going to go in the top 15. And Walter Clayton from Florida, who did not have a good NCAA tournament, but has practiced well and had a great season before the NCAAs. He's going to probably go inside the top 20. This is a really athletic, good draft with a lot of firepower and a select few big men, athletes who can run the floor. It's Wednesday night. It's going to be fun, but obviously Cooper Flagg is the storyline that everybody's talking about. Go ahead, John. No air balls. No turnovers.
It's interesting that in the top 6, there are 2 guys from Duke and 2 guys from Rutgers.
And Rutgers didn't do anything, didn't even get to the freaking tournament.
Well, there's the whole, Ron Harper Sr. connection there, where I think Ron Harper Jr. played there, and then this is Dylan Harper, a younger brother. And by the way, one of Ron Harper's other sons lives out here in Poway. Played ball with my son. But, it's cool seeing Rutgers being relevant here. But, all those European names, I mean, they seem to kind of come out of left field because we're not really accustomed. Unless they're like Wembanyama, they've been hyping them for the whole year prior. So,
well, we had Wembanyama, and then last year with the 2 big men from France who got to play immediately in the NBA, but scuffled and struggled. But the kid from Germany, he's big and he's athletic. We don't see him, but they do play well. They have starred in what is called the European League.
Oh, interesting. So, but a lot of interesting names here. And the kid, what's his name? Walter Clayton from Florida. That dude is money. I mean, I was really impressed with him in the tournament. I'm surprised that he is way down the first round. I thought he would have been in the top half.
Well, the fact is he didn't have a good NCAA tournament. At the end, the championship game, he totally disappeared. Maybe there's some holes in his game. Maybe he's got to go to the right situation. Maybe he had to do too much of it on his own at Florida. But the draft is really going to be fun. So you're into basketball. Feel free. We love hoops. We talk about it all on this podcast. I want you to jump on board. Let's go from that. Talk about the NBA championship game.
Yeah, the NBA Finals was last night. It went to Game 7.
I told you so.
Yes, you did.
Oklahoma City, complete team. A little bit erratic. Tell you what, they learned a lot about playing at crunch time. You have to learn adversity. You have to learn about when it comes body bag time. You have to learn to fight through all the stuff. You have to learn to shoot critical free throws when you're exhausted. Oklahoma City got it done. Wasn't easy. They beat Indiana. Maybe they wouldn't have beaten Indiana if Tyrese Halliburton had not exploded his Achilles 7 minutes into the game, because Indiana really banged them around. Indiana disrupted the rhythm. In the first half of the game, Indiana went to the locker room, 48-47 halftime lead, having already lost Halliburton with the ruptured Achilles tendon. But then in the second half, Oklahoma City came out and they flipped the switch and they started to push the tempo. And then they started to hit three-point shots, which they didn't in the first half. They were 4 for 18 on threes in the opening half of the game. And then slowly a 6-point lead became 13. And then at one point it became 22. Indiana was heaving threes at the end of the game, trying to find a way to climb back in, got it as low as 10, but they ran out of time. They ran out of hope. Oklahoma City's the real deal. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the real deal. Jalen Williams, a little streaky. You never know quite night to night what he can do. Their bench is really deep. I'm such an Alex Caruso fan.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of being a grinder and all that. Now that Chet Holmgren has made monstrous jumps in terms of productivity offensively, his ability to block shots, the athleticism to run the floor. I think we're going to see Oklahoma City be a good franchise for a chunk of years. Those kids have really learned on the job, and I think they learned a lot. I mean, Indiana punched him in the mouth. Indiana just took him in the back alley and said, "You want to fight?" But Indiana, after they lost their star, just wasn't the same team. So OKC is the real deal.
Yeah, they are the champions. They deserve it. They had a great year all the way through. But yeah, when Halliburton went down, he had 9 points like early on, hit 3 threes.
3 threes in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, so he was red hot, and I was thinking, hey, this could be pretty interesting. And then you could see his calf kind of twitch, you know, like a ripple in a rope or something. So that was like, oh, that's bad news. And he was just pounding the gym floor. He felt bad for him. And then once he was gone, I suddenly found myself sort of rooting for Indiana, you know, playing one man down, but OKC ran away with it. You talking about Caruso, you know, it's one of the things I enjoy doing when I'm watching the ball game is I'll just do a deep dive on a player, like, oh, where did he go to college? And, you know, this whole thing. And Caruso
he was a Laker.
Well, he was, yeah, you know, but the cool thing about Caruso and even the kid Dort, who was a starter for the Thunder, they were both like, you know, they were in the G League. They had the 2-way 10-day contract, you know, so they came up. I mean, they weren't the glamour star first round pick kind of guys, but Caruso, Texas A&M, you know, and he was all defense there in his conference and came in. And you're right. He was a really serviceable player for the Lakers, but he's great defensively. And by the way, he's married to like this really hot actress who was in the TV show Big Brother.
Okay.
You know, so it's fun things you can look up online while you're watching the game.
The thing that I like about him is he is gritty and he just has no fear. And he's become more of a complete basketball player. And the greatest phrase that has been attached to his resume, John, he made the comment during an interview, I think during the first round of the playoffs. Every day of my pro basketball life has been like Game 7, do or die.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's out of the NBA and who knows where he goes. So, I mean, he was in the G League. But, boy, he is just a banger and a grinder. And now he's developed an outside shot, and he has no fear going into traffic into the lane, going to the basket, and as you say, at the other end of the floor, he's going to lean all over your ass, and he's going to push and shove. And he's
well, they were showing a highlight of one of the plays where, you know, the ball was kind of going out of bounds, and he was trying to, you know, block or screen, you know, the guy that was on him, and he fell down to his knees to create a roadblock so the guy couldn't get by. And he wears knee pads, you know, because he's used to that, to ready to play that kind of over the top defense. That, I mean, we know that. We see that at San Diego State. That's a hell of a way to, it's entertaining basketball when you got guys that can play both ends.
Yeah. I told you so. OKC.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, we did our NBA preview back in October. I told you so. Changing of the guard. And again, Boston got leveled by injuries. Cleveland, despite a 63-win season, got people hurt during the playoffs and just kind of ran out of steam. Houston, they got firepower, and they're going to have Kevin Durant. But Houston has to learn, as young as they were, had to learn how to play postseason because that's a whole different animal. So there's still a lot of good basketball coming, I think, from people in the Eastern Conference. That's all things NBA.
I got one more comment about this, if I could, just to jump in.
Go ahead.
So this NBA Finals had kind of low ratings, right, compared to a lot of the other tournaments. Yeah. Okay, but it's interesting how now we've got 3 teams in Texas that are loaded, and they're going to draft high. They got a lot of talent, just traded for Kevin Durant in Houston. Then you got Oklahoma City, and then even Indiana. It's all these teams in the center part of America, you know, where the teams that are on the coasts, which usually have been dominant, have taken a real step back.
Yeah, big boy basketball, big dollar basketball is no longer the pertinent storyline. Now it's all about athletes. How do you get them? How do you train them? How do you grow them? How do you make them superstars? Because I don't think, in all honesty, we can consider the Lakers an iconic franchise anymore. That's more mediocrity. Mm-hmm. And the Clippers have got so much age. Now, they could get better once they get salary cap space and the owner's not afraid to spend, but they got so many old players, which means I don't understand the trade to try to get Jrue Holiday at age 34 from Boston to add him to the mix with Harden and the aging, though great, Kawhi Leonard. That doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, out here, and Golden State's got guys with 1,000 miles on them, led by Curry and Green. So, I mean, it's different. And obviously, New York's upside down in terms of its operation. Boston's got this significant injury problems. And Pat Riley's got a massive rebuild job there in South Florida with the Miami Heat.
And the 76ers, too, got head case of Embiid.
Yeah, head cases, and every one of their guys was hurt.
Right.
So, interesting. All right, we get to halftime. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. DIXIELINE obviously is known for lumber, and the contractors have this special relationship with DIXIELINE. I guarantee you, every project, housing project, neighborhood buildup you see, that's DIXIELINE lumber. But John, DIXIELINE has a lot of other things, including the doors and windows in my house. Can you believe it's the end of June? And because my house has DIXIELINE doors and windows, we haven't turned the air conditioning on in my house yet, which is amazing. But talk about all the other things aside from lumber that DIXIELINE offers.
Well, yeah, let's take a look at tools. I mean, they've got some great tools options. If you're looking for power tools, hand tools, like if you're a do-it-yourself homeowner, maybe a contractor or a builder, yeah, just roll in. They got the pros there. They're going to help you. All the big brands like DeWalt and Milwaukee and Bosch, so DIXIELINE's terrific for power tools, hand tools, but plus they've got, like you say, the lumber, the building materials, doors, windows, kitchen and bath remodels, outdoor decking. DIXIELINE has it all.
DIXIELINE Lumber. Just go to the website, DIXIELINE.com, see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime when we're done putting topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it bleeping should be done. We cover a lot. When we're done, we open it up to you. It's called Fans Forum. John, explain to everybody what it is.
Okay. I could see some of the names here. Schickster, Casey, and Callan, and Moof Peace. David is in there, and John, and the Winnipeg Sports Talk, XX Revolution. Matthew, already piling in. Thanks very much for getting on board. If you have a question or comment in the world of sports, just drop your take in the live chat on YouTube, X, or on Facebook.
That's coming up, Fans Forum, right at the end of this podcast. If you like sports, a reminder, I write sports on this website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. It's there every day. You should check it every day. In addition, I want you to join my social media Twitter all-star team. Just go to X. You're on social media. I see all your stuff. I want you to join my team. Just follow me at Lee Hacksaw Hamilton or at Hacksaw 1090. Hit the follow button. Want you to share, subscribe, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Give us a thumbs up. That really helps us. Give us a 5-star rating. That helps us a great deal too. And we want you to subscribe on the YouTube channel, because then you get the alerts every time we put new videos up on the YouTube channel. And we do that quite often. Did I miss anything? Did I cover everything?
You covered all, man.
We just kind of firestorm our way through social media. We are on every bleeping platform that I think there's John is known to mankind.
Yeah, I mean, we're all over the place. We're on Twitter. It's like now it's called X. But yeah, Blue Sky. We're even on Blue Sky, TikTok, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're on it all.
Be part of the team. And by the way, we salute you, because we just busted through 8,000 subscribers just on the YouTube channel alone in 2 years' time. So it's great to have you along. Tell your friends who we are, what we're doing. Invite them to be part of this podcast. All right, let's move on. Second half of the Bonus Monday podcast. And we're throwing high, hard ones coming up next, because we're talking baseball.
Yeah, we had our last podcast Thursday, and this Dodgers-Padres series got red hot Thursday night.
Well, it was quite a week. The Dodgers beat the Padres 3 out of 4, and then we had the incidents on Thursday night. Let's just talk about the bad blood rivalry. Was there a villain in all this? 8-hit batsman in 4 games? That's a little bit over the top. But this whole thing came because of bad pitching. I think Dave Roberts deserves some blame. Mike Schilt deserves some blame. Robert Suarez got suspended for 3 games. Obviously, baseball blames him along the way. The most unique thing, the scary thing to me, and I think something has to change in the batter's box for Fernando Tatis, because he continues to get hit. He's been hit 14 times in the last 3 years since he came off his suspension. He crowds the plate, he leans, he lunges into pitches, and he had some reason he has a tough time with sight recognition, where the ball's going and whether he should back away. It's great to have courage, but my biggest fear, because I've seen him almost get buzzed a couple times in the head. He's going to take one in the face with severe implications. So as much as he's a great hitter, and you have to pitch him inside because he's got such great reach outside. That's why they jam him. But you got guys throwing 100 miles an hour that do not know where the ball is going. Fernando's got to be cognizant of the wildness of some of these pitchers, and they have all this information. They have all these scouting reports. They see videos on these guys. They know who can spot the ball, who can't. Fernando has to be leery of stepping into one and taking one in the face. I'm really concerned about his future well-being there. In terms of what happened, there's no doubt in my mind Ohtani got plunked. I understand the code. You throw at my guy, I'm throwing at your star. Eye for eye, tooth for a tooth. But in terms of Suarez hit him with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball at the top of the back, 5 inches higher, and it's in the neck and the throat area. And that's real dangerous. And Suarez said, no. Baseball doesn't buy that at all. And in terms of the dugout incidents, Mike Shildt has every right and responsibility to come out of that dugout and go to home plate as Tatis is lying there crumbled after getting beamed again, and to confront the umpires. But when Mike Shildt broke away from the umpires and made a beeline towards the Dodger dugout, that incited everything. Dave Roberts has every right to come out of the dugout. And then there was the ensuing brouhaha behind home plate. Roberts, though, does not have the right to put his hands on Mike Shildt and do this.
No.
Or do this. And he did. Dave Roberts should have gotten an additional suspension for that rather than just the 1-game suspension he got, like Mike Shildt got. Will it cool off? Yeah, it's going to cool off. The weirdest part, the most bizarre part, nobody saw this except the host on this podcast, because the TV guys didn't make comment on it. The weirdest part was we saw Ohtani at first base after the beaning, standing there as they were trying to settle everything down. Ohtani's sitting there laughing and joking with a rise. And then Ohtani went to the Padre dugout, and the umpire started to gravitate over there. But Ohtani was laughing and exchanging jokes with the guys in the Padre dugout. I mean, how classy is that of him not to respond, not to retaliate after getting hit twice with dangerous pitches? Nobody commented on that. And then the other thing, I don't know if you saw it, right at the end, as the sides separated, walking down the first base line was Teoscar Hernandez with his arm around Mike Shildt, laughing, with Shildt laughing to try to diffuse the whole situation. So they calmed it down. Yeah, I think they have till August 15th when they play again.
It's going to be good.
And it'll be, but so John, you talked to me about beanballs. Who's the villain in this whole situation? The thing that I do enjoy from a media perspective is dealing with Dave Roberts and dealing with Mike Shildt. There's no coach speak. They wear it on their sleeve. They tell you what they think. You know, Mike Shildt says, I don't hold grudges, but damn it, I'm going to be in the foxhole defending my guys. You know, and Dave Roberts is very vocal about what happened and his perspective of this. And so I don't like brawls. I don't like beanball stuff because that's really dangerous stuff. And I get upset at young guys coming up, throwing 100 miles an hour, don't know where the ball's going, and hitting guys high, hitting them in the head, hitting them on the hands, which could cause a major injury. And the look on the face of Joey Little, the Dodger rookie pitcher who beat Tatis, and he's a young pitcher, he looked like he was going to cry. He looked like he was just so scared about what happened. So I know it's part of baseball. I know there is a baseball code, but I just don't want to see great players get badly hurt. You know, and that Ohtani pitch, it comes 5 inches higher, it hits him in the throat. That's real bad. And Tatis, he leans in all the time. He can't do that because he's going to take one right on the cheekbone, which has got bad implications. Okay, John, I've said my piece. Throw a high, hard one in response.
this makes the rivalry even better. It's more entertaining, with all this other kind of extracurricular stuff going on. Now, first of all, Tatis does not crowd the plate. I mean, if you see the way he sets up, he has an open stance. His left foot is sort of in the bucket, right? Kind of pointing towards third base. And then he kind of steps into the pitch. But even when he's striding into the pitch, it's not like he's hanging over the edge of the plate like Barry Bonds did. It's the whole thing is it's the strategy, how they pitch to Tatis, because they know he's a sucker for the low and outside slider, just like Manny is. But to Tatis, they go up high towards the head, so he's backing off, and then they go down low, and away, and they get him, and that's the formula. So the good news is that Tatis can move like the Matrix, and he can back away. But yeah, it's scary when they're thrown up near the head, no doubt. Don't want to get hit in the hand. Manny said we had to light a candle for him to make sure we was going to be okay. But as far as who's the villain, it's hard to point your finger at one specific person, because guys like Little for the Dodgers, it was his debut, I think.
And they sent him right back to Oklahoma City.
Yeah. So and this guy's, they're throwing hard. They're probably being coached to throw high and up and high to Tatis. And you get that two-seamer and it just runs in. It got away from him. I don't think that was intentional at all. Suarez's was definitely intentional, as a response. And that's the baseball code. You got to do the response thing. But the whole Robert Schilt level of this, it just makes it even more entertaining. And remember Roberts and Andy Green got into it about 5-10 years ago. Yeah. And so I just think this makes the rivalry so much more exciting. Yeah, good on Shohei for kind of laughing it off and diffusing it. Same with Teoscar and Schilt. But, just as long as we don't have an incident like Pedro Martinez taking out Don Zimmer in one of those brawls, and I think we're going to be okay. It's all good.
That's where we are. By the way, sidebar. How about Team Utility Man? How about Jose Iglesias on Sunday?
Oh, hell yeah.
Padres struggled against Kansas City, come back and beat Kansas City. The super utility man comes up with a 2-run double in the 7th to tie the game as a pinch hitter. Then throws a man out from mid-center field to home plate to wipe out the go-ahead run on the top of the 9th, and then drives in the winning run with an infield single in the bottom of the 9th. All that from Jose Iglesias. So he and Gavin Sheets have been the nice off-season acquisitions that A.J. Preller has made. Is it enough? No. I still think as we go towards July 31st trading deadline, there's got to be another transaction there. But Team Utility Man, he's really become popular at Petco Park.
Yeah, OMG, man. And when it was interesting because Jay Cronenworth supposed to bat there, was it in the 8th inning, I think? And he pinch hit. And then the lefty-righty thing got flip-flopped both ways. And so now you've got Iglesias facing a right-handed hitter. And I'm like, oh, I hope this works out, because, you burn Cronenworth, who can drive the ball deep. And sure enough, that scrappy little hit over the first baseman's head, and that relay throw, Jackson Merrill, man, he relayed that in quick, got it into Iglesias, and the hell of a tag by Maldonado. I think he tagged him when the player was in midair, and then he made the extra tag when they were dancing around home plate.
I agree. It was quite a thing. Does it propel them back into the pennant race?
No.
Nah.
Yeah, but they're on track.
They're 5 and 6 back still, etc. So you're a Padre Dodger fan, feel free to jump on board. Was there a villain in this thing? You're worried about guys really getting hurt? I mean, what could have happened to Tatis? What could have happened to Ohtani? Feel free to join us. Fans Forum chat box is open. We got slots here for Dodger and Padre fans. Got to dial in right now. Other baseball notes. Next topic on the table.
Okay, let's talk Angels baseball.
They're struggling like we knew they would. Kids are starting to hit. Some of the pitchers are better than other of the pitchers, and now they don't have their manager. Ron Washington has stepped aside for an interim period. They don't know how long. Maybe the correct term is indefinite period. He's got health issues. Evidently was fatigued, sick, couldn't sleep, felt really bad, had problems breathing on the East Coast road trip. He has stepped aside indefinitely, undergo a whole battery of tests. The Angels are not saying whether it is heart-related, whether it's a viral infection, etc., but he is away from the Angels for a chunk of time. And of course, he's not young. He's 73 years of age. So Ron Washington steps away from the Angels. Atlanta, their season has just been ripped by injuries. And now they lose the ace of the staff, Chris Sale, fractured rib, trying to get a comebacker off the mound. He's gone indefinitely. I mean, this is a team that started without Acuna, had the horrible start to the season, lost Spencer Strider. They've been running uphill all year, just have not been able to get the whole team on the field. Athletics. I guess the novelty has worn off. The shine has worn off. The Athletics in Sacramento, playing in that minor league stadium, over the weekend drew the 3 worst crowds they've drawn. The A's have the worst home record of any team in Major League Baseball. Poor Mark Kotze. They won 8,600, 8,500, 8,300, 3 straight home games this weekend.
That's brutal.
By the way, today at 8 o'clock this morning, they turned the first shovel of dirt in Las Vegas for the construction of the new Athletics baseball stadium. But that's 3 years down the road, so things are not going well there. So Angels, Atlanta, A's. Last topic, New York Times. We lost a really good guy in San Diego. Scott Miller passed away over the weekend. Scott Miller, longtime baseball columnist, beat writer, came from the Minnesota Twins beat, came to work in Los Angeles, covered the Angels. Then he became their national correspondent for the LA Times. Spent a lot of time down here covering San Diego Padre baseball. Actually lived in the Carlsbad area. Went to work for CBS Sportsline. Did a lot of freelance stuff for Fox. He's authored multiple books. He just finished a book on the history of baseball managers. All this while he was fighting prostate cancer. And I've known him a long time. Classy guy, gentleman guy, friendly guy to everybody. A wordsmith, if you will. Very, very good writer. Just really sad. And I'll tell you a sidebar piece to the story, because it really has not been told. Scott told me about this right before Christmas, and then I'd stayed in contact with him. And the last time I talked to him was in February. And he was fighting a fight. They were doing some experimental stuff. He had pancreatic cancer. And he fought a bitter fight with it. And he stood tall in the face of this adversity. Anyhow, he gets diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. 48 hours later, his wife got diagnosed with breast cancer.
No way.
Yes. They went through the treatment simultaneously, and they were strength factors for each other. It was really something. Yeah. So, it's been tough on Kim. It's been tough on Gretchen. And Scott had reached a plateau. So far, so good. And then he had a setback. And obviously had a setback. I think it was the end of March. And he was in and out of the hospital. And then I had heard his family had come in from the upper Midwest and was here. So he passed away fairly quickly once the pancreatic cancer reappeared. But what a nice man. My God, he was just class. So I felt really sad all week. And I messaged back and forth, talked to a couple different baseball guys, because we all kind of ran in the same circle from a media standpoint. So you Google Scott Miller, baseball writer, and he wrote his book through all the time. He was going through all the cancer treatments. He was continuing to write that book, and it finally came out. May 24th, I think it came out. It's called The Managers. So tough setback. Nice man. John, you got baseball to talk about.
Scott Miller, I just remember him. I mean, I've obviously read some of his articles, but he was sometimes he was on the pregame show for the Padres. Yeah. I don't know if it was during the Bally's era or the Fox Sports San Diego era, but he was just, he was all class. And dude was very, very well versed, not just in our local team, but in league wide. So rest in peace to him. He's a loss for sure. We've been losing a lot of great ones in the world of sports media. And then, by the way, the Angels, the Braves, and the A's. I mean, that board up there on the screen looks kind of cool with the 3 A's. I like that. Now in Anaheim, who's taken over for Ron Washington temporarily? And do you think he may have to step down permanently?
Well, they're not talking about that. They hope he'll be back before the end of the season, but at this point, they're not detailing at all what's wrong with him, whether it might be a heart valve or whether it's a viral infection. But evidently, he was really sick on this last Angel road trip, so he's voluntarily stepped aside. Tough call. Speaking of that, I want to salute the Padres. Can we get a picture of this, John? Okay, I'm going to hold this up.
Okay. Let's do this. This is a whole separate story here. Let me
anyhow
change the graphic.
This is what the Padres did.
Let me see if I can get this a little closer. Royals.
Okay. The Padres on Sunday put a bouquet of flowers at the seat that Scott Miller always sat at.
I think we can see that on the screen.
Yep,
there. Yeah, that's
it's
like
perfect.
from the media booth up there.
It's from the press box. Padres did something really,
That's
I thought,
nice.
very, very thoughtful and very classy. And everybody that was in that press box that walked by instantly knew what it represented.
Cool.
So I salute the Seidler family for what they did. Scotty, real good guy. Okay, that's all things baseball. We got other topics on the table. NFL Notebook is open for business.
Yeah, the NFL never sleeps.
Let's talk about the Chargers. The Chargers, I think, have really done a good job in 2 years under Joe Hurt's leadership of adding players. And now they may be trying to add a veteran that would kind of seal the deal and bring together their secondary. They just opened talks on the weekend with the Miami Dolphins for Jalen Ramsey, former Pro Bowl cornerback. He's reached the end of the road with Miami. He's being shopped. The Rams were interested, but they couldn't come to an agreement on who is going to pay what. Jalen Ramsey's contract. Pro Bowl cornerback is owed 2 years, $48 million. He's got $24 million per year. Clubs have said, we're interested in Jalen Ramsey, but you got to pay a piece of it. Well, the other factor is, what are you going to trade for a cornerback that's 31 or 32 with that kind of money? Well, evidently the Chargers, who've got cap space, are willing to take on a chunk of Ramsey's contract and willing to give up maybe as high as a second-round pick, which is phenomenal to get a guy who's got this experience. Miami would have to pay half the salary each of the next 2 years. But if Miami is willing to eat $12 million this year on Ramsey's salary and $12 million next year, but they're going to get a second-round pick from the Bolts, this guy could really seal everything that's going on in that Chargers secondary because they have an awful lot of young athletes, but this is a vested veteran. So keep an eye on that. They're trying really hard at the last minute to see if they can come to a deal to get Jalen Ramsey of Miami to play for the Bolts. Kansas City. You need some Gatorade to wash this down. Kansas City is evidently going to get rid of their right tackle, Jawan Taylor. He's the big, massive guy who's always offsides, penalties, etc. And, of course, the Chiefs went into the marketplace and signed a young left tackle in Jalen Moore, the 49ers, then drafted Josh Simmons out of Ohio State coming off knee surgery. They've decided Simmons is going to right tackle to start, and they're going to try to get rid of Taylor. I have to take a $19 million cap hit.
Whoa.
To ask him to go out the door and leave. But evidently they're about to do it. So that's a big story out of Kansas City. Raiders, we've talked extensively about the Raiders' acquisitions, whether it's the quarterback Geno Smith, or it's Ashton Genty, what they've done at tight end, the importation of Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator. They think they have found a wide receiver who's going to complement everything else they've got on the offense. Kid's name is Dante Thornton, played at Tennessee, 6'5" wide receiver. He was part of the rotation of a lot of really good receivers. He left school early. Kid has just been explosive down the field at the Raiders' offseason workouts. So all of a sudden, they think, we got Ashton Genty. We signed the 49er running back Raheem Mostert to be our third down power back goal line back. We got the super tight end, Brock Bowers. We got the other tight end from Notre Dame, Michael Mayer. We got Jacoby Myers, the expatriate, who really had a good season last year. And we think this kid, Dante Thornton, is the real deal. All of a sudden, and they got Geno Smith, all of a sudden, everything looks really great on offense with the Raiders. So that's really interesting. Minnesota, which has moved all the chips in the middle of the table to the kid quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, who didn't play last year because of a knee injury. Evidently, Minnesota offered Sam Darnold 1 year contract, big money, stay one more year. Darnold said, no, I had this mystical 14-3 season, but during the course of the conversations, yeah, but the last two most important games of the season, you played really poorly. Anyhow, he wound up going to Seattle. He wound up getting a 3-year deal. But at the end of the day, Minnesota wanted him to stay, but offered him only a 1 year contract. Big trouble in Houston. Jimmy Ward, Pro Bowl safety, arrested. Felony strangulation charges. Bad domestic abuse case. This guy's always been a hothead player. If he's convicted, he might be looking at 10 years in prison. That's a real serious story all of a sudden for the Houston Texans. And Pittsburgh, do you know where Antonio Brown is? Antonio Brown, a warrant out for arrest on attempted murder. Antonio Brown, who's got a trail of unpaid child support lawsuits trailing him, has left the country.
Really?
Has departed.
On the lam.
Catch me if you can. I don't know where he is, whether he's in Egypt or Greece or South America, but Antonio, what a knucklehead. What a nightmare of a person this guy's become. So, John, that's what's going on. You want to talk about Jalen Ramsey? You want to talk about the Raider Nation? Sam Darnold, go ahead.
Well, we got to go with Raider Nation to start about this. Dante Thornton is this kid's name, right?
Yes.
This is like Al Davis, get the vertical game going, man. This guy's going to be a burner down the line. Is that what he is?
6'5", who can run like hell. Young guy. I think he caught 43 passes last year, but he was part of a rotation of a lot of other upperclassmen wide receivers and a very good offense.
Yeah, so it's a great story when you kind of get this diamond in the rough. It kind of lands in your lap at camp, and suddenly, hey, this guy's got some skills. Yep. So good on the Raiders. And it's interesting because you in your best 15, you had talked about how the Raiders kind of went back and decided, that the decision to get Geno Smith made so much sense that they were not going to take Aaron Rodgers. Right. They were not going to take any of these guys. And Tom Brady is backing that whole Geno Smith decision. I mean, he's got that experience, man. He's got guys, he's got skill guys all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got enough offensive linemen to protect his ass, but they sure got an awful lot of skill guys on the perimeter. And, Geno had the relationship, obviously, with Pete Carroll in Seattle. And he had 3 pretty good statistical seasons with the Seahawks. And now you got the dynamics of the crazy man, Chip Kelly. His X's and O's are all over the place. Raiders.
This is the most entertaining division in the NFL.
Oh, damn right it is.
Yeah.
And, we've talked in the past about AFC West. Look at the coaches. Why about AFC West? Look at the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I think this is the most explosive division in the NFL. And it's Jalen Ramsey acquisitions. Giving up a second-round pick for a 31 or 32-year-old guy, I don't know about that. But if the Chargers think we're going to be a really good team, that pick becomes the 60th or 65th pick overall. And if this guy can make everybody else really good, and Derwin James is part of that equation. If you got a secondary that's anchored by Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James, and then Tarheeb Still and all these other young guys who can run, wow, that's pretty cool.
That makes so much sense to me because the clock's ticking on Justin Herbert. I mean, he's been in the league, 7 years or something?
No, not long, but he hasn't won a playoff game yet.
Okay. But
that's not on him. That's on the organization.
Well, but the point is that they need to win now. They can't wait, to hope a second round draft pick turns out. So the Jalen Ramsey deal, if they pick up half the salary, go for it, man.
Okay. You're an NFL fan. We just hit the hot buttons of all these big stories. Fans Forum chat box is open. Your questions are invited. Big week also in hockey. Playoffs are over. Here comes the NHL draft and everything that's wrapped around that.
Yeah, we got the Kings at the top of the list.
This is really interesting. LA Kings have got a really good roster and seem really close, but haven't gotten there. The storyline is the LA Kings are about to offer the top free agent, Mitch Marner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, a 2-year, $28 million guaranteed contract, $14 million per season, which would take them to number 1 on the pay chart. Why would they do that? A, creatively, they got cap space. B, Marner only wants a 2-year deal. Marner wants to go somewhere, pile up more statistics, become a free agent again when the salary cap takes a massive bump up in the National Hockey League. So Mitch Marner and his 221 goals is evidently going to get an offer from the Kings. Now, I will also tell you the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who have big cap space, and that's all the glitter of Vegas, they're going to be in the running to make a run at Mitch Marner. And the Carolina Hurricane, who've got a really good team, they're going to make a sales pitch to get the Maple Leaf 40-goal score. So that's item 1. Item 2, Winnipeg Jets. This is such a cool story. How can you not root for this guy? His name is Jonathan Toews. We've talked a little bit about him in the past. Longtime Chicago Blackhawks superstar. left the league 2 years ago. Health issues, some type of body muscular disorder, where if he worked out, he had severe pain and sickness. He underwent all types of tests. They did an exploratory procedure. They couldn't solve it. He went to India and got treated, and they solved it. Jonathan Toews has signed a free agent contract to go to the Winnipeg Jets, 372 career goals. And how can you not root for the guy who was a captain of the Blackhawks, was a really good player. And he's, get this, he's going home. He's a Winnipeg native. And he's going to the Jets, who want another goal scorer. But how can you not root for a guy that's fought through all this unknown adversity, the perseverance it takes to fight the unknown of what's wrong with my body? And he went to the Mayo Clinic. He went everywhere. And then he finally went abroad, and they figured out what this condition was, and they've solved it at this point in time. So he goes to Winnipeg. Edmonton, big disappointment year after year after year. Stan Bowman, general manager, on Friday, end of season press conference. There will be changes. So they're going to go get another goaltender. I project that they should make a run at John Gibson of the Anaheim Ducks, but there's other goaltenders that are out there. Thatcher Demko is available from Vancouver, possibly in a trade. Jake Allen, ex-St. Louis Blues goalkeeper, he's available too out of Philadelphia. They're going to wind up maybe with one of those guys. Speaking of Vancouver, huge trade rumor that the Canucks are going to trade their high number 1 pick to Minnesota to try to go get goal scorer Marco Rossi. Scored 24 goals this past season. Minnesota's got salary cap problems. Vancouver they've got salary cap issues, but they're losing people. It does not look like their 40-goal scorer Brock Besser is going to be back. They already let Rick Tocchet, the head coach, go, so there's a lot of changes there. And a shocker, today, the Anaheim Ducks, just before we came on the air, traded their bright young center, Trevor Zegras, who they had great hopes for. He went to the Philadelphia Flyers in a package deal for a player and a second and a fourth-round pick. I'm a little stunned that the Ducks got rid of Zegras, but he had tailed off the last 2 years, had a bunch of injuries. He scored 23 goals first couple of years in the league, and then kept getting hurt, and the Ducks just kind of gave up on him. So they're obviously changing the whole culture of the roster. Zegras is going to Philly, where he's going to play. He's going to skate. He's going to play for Rick Tocchet, the new coach who just came from Vancouver. So, man, there's a lot of things going as we go towards the NHL draft on Friday. But, John?
Now, there's been a number of stories about destinations for Mitch Marner, right? Yeah. We've talked about 3 or 4 teams, but every one of those stories, it's always $14 million a year. Doesn't it seem like that's the going price?
That's the going price for him, based on being a 40-goal scorer and scoring 221 career goals, etc. Toronto just did not want to pay him that kind of money, and there's been a real break of the relationship. He's a Toronto native, hometown Leaf. The whole relationship is just kind of eradicated because the Leafs have just continued to be a terrible failure in postseason play. So, yeah, you're correct. Over the last 3 weeks, Marner's been at the headline everywhere. This Kings thing, wow, if he came to L.A., but Vegas is out there with money, and Vegas has a need too, so keep an eye on that.
Who's the highest paid player in the NHL?
Leon Draisaitl of Edmonton, who's just a shade over 14. Marner wants to go above that.
Okay.
And Connor McDavid is just below Draisaitl. I think McDavid's deal, which is up for renewal in a year or two, I think Connor McDavid's making 12.
Interesting.
Last topic here as it relates to hockey. NHL draft was on Friday. New York Islanders have the number 1 pick in the draft. They're going to take a kid played for Erie in the Ontario Hockey League, Matt Schaefer, big 6'2" ranging defenseman, moves the puck. He's just turned 18. He's really good. San Jose's got the 2nd pick. They're going to take Mike Misa, massively big center iceman. He played at Saginaw in the Ontario Hockey League, scored 63 goals this past season. We're going to wake up one morning and San Jose is going to be really good because they've been stockpiling a lot of picks. Last year, their number 1 pick was Matt Calabrini out of Boston College. The year before that was a young forward by the name of Will Smith. So San Jose is building and building. Chicago's got the 3rd pick, and of course they've stockpiled a lot of young players. They're taking this big center iceman from Sweden. His name is Anton Frondell. They call him, it's like a machine. He's just huge, 6'2.5", and can shoot the puck and score. There's a really good center out of Boston College by the name of James Hagan. There's a really powerful right winger from Brantford, Ontario by the name of Jake O'Brien. There's a big goal scorer from Brampton, Ontario by the name of Porter Martone. And there's a big center from Brandon in Western Canada by the name of Roger McQueen. The most unique thing about this NHL draft is they're all huge. These kids are 6'1", 6'2", in McQueen's case, 6'5". All forwards, all can score. I'll tell you, the NHL draft on Friday, I just think is going to be fascinating. So, Hockey Hotline is open. Winnipeg, the old Canada Network, is invited to jump on board. You want to talk about Marner? You want to talk about Jonathan Toews? What Stan Bowman just said? Hey, you invited me to co-host this thing. I told you we were going to talk hockey.
You come rolling in. I got a question, though. What is, just on the calendar, when is the NHL draft and when is the NBA draft?
NBA draft is Wednesday night, rounds 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 2 rounds. Okay, that's Wednesday. Friday, NHL draft, round 1. Rounds 2 through 7 are on Saturday. By the way, the NHL draft is in Los Angeles for the first time. The Kings are hosting the NHL draft. Kind of cool.
So and the NHL draft has turned into a spectacle like the NFL draft.
They bring the players and their families. Oh yeah, it's a Hollywood event, and it's going to be in Hollywood.
Perfect.
So, I've warned you. We're going to do this podcast, so we're going to talk about everything, all the topics on the table, and including hockey. And I mean, the amount of response we're getting on Fans Forum from hockey fans, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of hockey fans here in Southern California, that's for sure.
A lot of soccer fans, too. Last topic on the table before they go to the Fans Forum chat box.
Yeah, Team USA headlines, they've been winning lately.
Where did this come from? You know, we went weeks and weeks and weeks talking about how miserable Team USA had played, and then the raging controversy with Pochettino, the head coach, allowing 13 players not to be part of the summer roster so they could recover from injuries, get ready for World Cup training, including Christian Pulisic. And then the mounting criticism from all the former NHL and Team USA players towards Mauricio Pochettino and what he was doing. And they had a 4-game losing streak, and they went in to the Gold Cup, and they won all 3 games in group play. And now they've moved to the knockout round. And by exposing all these young players, they think they found another gem. They think they found another goal scorer, Malik Tillman, who scored goals in a whole bunch of these 3 victories. Now they've moved to the second round of the Gold Cup, and Team USA is now moving to the knockout round, and they're going to play Costa Rica in the knockout round. Mexico is going to play Saudi Arabia. Mexico is 3-0 in group play too. So this is kind of a real surprise that Mexico's done this with Raul Jimenez, who came from the English Premier League, is playing very well back home. And Team USA's done it with virtually the youngest roster of all time. Maybe it's going to catch up to them in the knockout round. But right now, Team USA's got a 3-game winning streak after limping into this thing with a 4-game losing streak. So that's really a surprise. They did lose one player, though. They lose one of their back-end defenders, Haji Wright. He may have a ruptured Achilles tendon. He got hurt. He's been sent back to England to be examined by his team, by the doctors at Coventry, where he plays in the second level of English soccer. But so far, so good. We'll find out where Team USA is going forward.
I mean, I was really worried. I thought Team USA was going to flame out the way everything was going here. But just as a weird aside, it's interesting how different sports have different terminology, right? And so, like, when there are tournaments, usually we think of pool play and brackets. But in soccer, it's group play and knockout rounds.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's just kind of neat. So the USA is going to go, now this is the Gold Cup, right?
This is the Gold Cup, and they'll move into the knockout round next.
So the knockout round is at the top 16, the top 8. I'm not even sure what that bracket's going to look like.
It was a top couple of teams in each of the groups advanced to the knockout round. So that was USA and Mexico were at the top of their group.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully Canada's in there and we get to have some really good soccer matches.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll see what's fact, what's fiction, what's real, what's not real in terms of Team USA right now.
Okay.
Okay, Fans Forum chat box is open. This podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. 9 locations to serve you in San Diego. If you've got projects, they've got materials. Just a reminder, DIXIELINE has 9 locations to serve you, including the Home Entertainment Center there in Solana Beach. If you're thinking massive renovation in the home, cabinets, kitchens, bathrooms, stop there. DIXIELINE Lumber, 9 locations serve you. Just go to DIXIELINE.com to find out all the things that they have to offer. We got a lot of people with a lot of opinions, a lot of questions. John, they're either going to yell at me or the hell they're going to yell at you, but let's let them fire away.
Okay, let's kick this off, and we always go with our friend Matthew, who always gives us a couple of bucks. And by the way, if you're on YouTube and there's like a dollar sign down there, that's on the bottom of the chat, and that's where you can do a YouTube super chat, and you can offer a few dollars. Friendly donations are always appreciated. Thanks, Matt. Hey, something is out of whack in modern sports. FIFA wants to run players to the ground. Pitchers keep blowing elbows, and Achilles tendons keep snapping in b-ball. Analytics have made play styles so boring.
Well, I think that the end of the day is professional sports has so much money attached to it in terms of contracts, Matthew, that these athletes train 11 months out of the year. And you can get bigger and you can get bulkier and you can get stronger. But the one thing that doesn't change is your Achilles tendon or your elbow ligament or your rotator cuff. And that's what's happened. That's the preponderance of Achilles injuries in the NBA this year, pretty high. And you go across the street to the NFL, we've seen a preponderance of torn calf injuries and Achilles injuries there. Why? Bigger, stronger, explosive players, boom, but your legs can't hold up to it because the Achilles doesn't get stronger as the body gets bigger and more physical. And the exact same thing with pitchers. Velocity, spin rates, physical force on the arm, bigger, stronger guys throwing harder, more stress on the elbow. The only thing doesn't change in weight training, elbow ligament. That's why the Dodgers lead the world, and they're the epicenter of all the injuries. It's a great question. That's my explanation. Does that make any sense to you?
It does make a lot of sense to me. But you know what's the one common thread through that whole thing, besides they're bigger, faster, stronger, is that there's so much money on the line. Yep. So all these players are doing everything they can to get their body in that kind of shape so they can throw 100 miles an hour. The leagues are, these soccer schedules are like 52 weeks a year. They're getting run into the ground. You're absolutely right. And analytics, this is interesting, just the way basketball has changed. I mean, very few people take short-range jumpers. It's either a slam dunk, a layup, or a three-point shot.
With the exception of SGA, the MVP, his mid-range jump shots, his ability to get that stuff off in traffic. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a complete superstar.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay, Matthew, thank you.
Okay, let's go here to John. And he goes, hey, well, AJ, you'll get to see what you miss with James Wood in left field at Petco tonight. Sorry, but you're not getting him back.
Now, he's talking about James Wood, the left fielder that was kind of one of the cornerstones of a significant trade that really helped Washington. We're talking about the Juan Soto deal from Washington to San Diego. C.J. Abrams has turned out to be a really good shortstop. The pitcher, Mackenzie Gore, has had stretches where he's been really dominant, but they just don't have enough players in Washington to put around the 4 Padre players they got. The other one was, I think, the young outfielder, Robert Hassel, was up, and then they sent him back to AAA just last week. But no, Washington, they've got core players. They don't have enough players right now, and they're going through a bad ownership situation with the Lerner family, putting it up for sale, taking it off the sales block. Somebody want to buy the franchise. They really need new ownership that's going to commit to spend more money. I don't think Mike Rizzo's in jeopardy as general manager, but the rebuild has been slow. And I don't think Dave Martinez is in trouble because Rizzo just gave him a vote of confidence. It was very frustrating because they're sub 500 again. And it wasn't that long ago that they had Bryce Harper and they had Juan Soto and they had Steven Strasburg. And these guys were all the core part of what was going to be here, and then everything changed, and guys got hurt, careers ended. Here came free agency, and Soto's been moved. So, but that left fielder, that'd be fun to watch him and see what he does against the Padres here, because I think he's got 21 or 22 home runs already, and we're not to the All-Star break.
And he's good friends with Jackson Merrill. I mean,
yes.
They grew up in Maryland together. What's interesting about this whole situation is the Padres gave up a ton to get Juan Soto. If the Padres win a World Series, everyone's fine, with giving away all this talent. We knew it was a lot of talent. But it's interesting that the Nationals have hit on every one of those guys.
Yep.
You know, usually you'll get one gem, a couple of guys are mid, a few guys flame out. And there's still this kid, Susanna, who was like a flamethrower. He's still in the minors. You know, it also kind of gives you a sense of Preller drafts well, you know, and you say Preller's got boots on the ground. Preller can reload. So, you know, this deal didn't work out for the Padres. But, you know, you got to applaud James Wood. He's having a great rookie season.
I concur. And, you know, a side part to the Washington Nationals deal was that they then turned around and they made a trade. You know, Soto wound up going to the Yankees, and then part of what they got from the Yankees wound up going to the White Sox, and that brought them Dylan Cease. Although Cease hasn't pitched him deep into postseason, and last I checked, I haven't been to a World Series game yet at Petco Park, and you haven't either.
No.
So there's still work to be done here. But the Soto trade turned out to be a big win for Washington, but ownership has let that general manager down right now in terms of just not giving Mike Rizzo more resources to go get more good players to put around this consortium of young guys they have. John, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the games. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Casey. Good afternoon, guys. Hacksaw, looks like my Dodgers are starting to pull away in the NL West. And do you see them adding in another starting pitcher at the trade deadline, which they might need?
I don't think so, because most of the guys who are hurt look like they're on their way back. So I don't know that they're going to add a starting pitcher. They don't want to have any more setbacks. But, I mean, here's Ohtani. Ohtani has had 2 one-inning outings and been dominant. I mean, he's being clocked at 99 and 100. So they're going to expand him. Obviously, Kershaw has come back, is very competitive. What did he throw? 5 shutout innings the other night? So far, so good. Dustin May is back. They're trying to build his strength. He has some good outings, good innings, and he gives up some home runs along the way. They've still got consortium of young pitchers at AAA. So I don't think they're going to do that. One of the theories is that they might be the one that makes a trade to get the White Sox outfielder Luis Robert, because they're a little bit thin in the outfield area. Although Andy Pages he's had a really good first half of the season, and he had a lousy start to the year, and now it looks like he's really become a solid major leaguer. I do think there's probably one acquisition for the Dodgers. I don't think there's a mega trade, and I don't think they're going to strip mine their farm system to do anything. They just need to get everybody who's been injured, all these pitchers, try to get as many back as they can. And I don't think we're going to see Sasaki. This impingement in the shoulder has gone on, and they got to rebuild all of his mechanics along the way. So that's the answer to my question. Yeah, they're pulling away a little bit. We still got a lot of games to be played, but the fact that they beat the hell out of the Padres 3 games in a row, I told you so. You know, and at one point, the Padres are 7 games out of first place by the time they get done with this schedule last week. So they're going to try to chip away. But, you know, they got shortcomings on their pitching staff, and their differences. They don't have any way to get healthy. They can't take on any more money in a contract, and I don't know that they can trade anything away in what is a barren farm system right now. So the Dodgers are in a better position to do something from the outside if they want to. I don't see how the Padres can improve their lot. And San Francisco, they fired their last shot, obviously, with the acquisition of the Red Sox outfielder, and we'll see what Raf Devers does. Frisco, they got a lot of young pitching, so maybe that young pitching will hold up in the heat of the pennant race.
Dodgers. So, I mean, think about this. Assuming all the guys that are on the IL come back, that are, you know, that have a chance to come back this year. Imagine these 4 starting pitchers in the playoffs. You'd have Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I mean, and then plus you've got Kershaw and you've got all those other guys, you know, that can still contribute. That is a run on the gauntlet in a 3-game series or a 5-game series. It's impossible to beat that.
That's what $380 million will allow you to do. But you're telling me that Snell's going to come back. We haven't seen any indication of that. Glasnow, through 2 innings, clocked at 95 at Oklahoma City. That's only 1 rehab start, limited time. Glasnow, to me, based on track record of injuries, John, looks like an accident waiting to happen again. We have to see, can he build it? Can he throw 4 to 6 innings and not have complications, shoulder, forearm, etc., because they keep working on his mechanics, and he's not been able to consistently use to repeat his mechanics, which now leads to these physical woes. So the jury's out on at least those first two. But you got Ohtani, and you got Yamamoto, and you got Dustin May, and there is Kershaw. That's not bad.
No, I mean, and there's other guys too. Is Tony Gonsolin going to?
No, they just put him back on the 60-day disabled list with a knee injury.
Okay. I mean, but still, I could name off 5 other guys' names. Bobby Miller. I mean, they got a lot of talent that they can work with here.
I concur. But if Glasnow comes back and can stay healthy, geez, they're pretty good.
Well, you said that they were going to keep him in Oklahoma City for 3 starts, right?
Three more rehab starts.
So they want to see if he can prove it, and be consistent.
Well, he's got to build on it without having any setbacks.
Yeah.
And
okay.
he changed his mechanics to try to protect his arm in the off season, and he got hurt in spring training. Yeah. And this is all a byproduct of his body is reacting differently to his delivery. And, is it the forearm or is it the shoulder?
He's a tall guy, man. A lot of levers there.
Yeah, exactly. 6'7". Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go back to our friend Matt because he gave us a couple more bucks. Hey, Matt says, San Diego is the 30th in the Nielsen metrics, yet San Diego is the 8th largest city and 5th largest county. How is this possible?
That's a good question. I don't understand. Is the TV market based on population or is it based on households? So there's less household, but there's more people living in those households, which is why one metric says one thing, another says another. The reality is it's a much smaller advertising market, Matthew, than a lot of other cities. There's a lot less corporate advertising dollars here to support your franchises. It's a big issue. It's still small market America. Even though the Padres are going to draw 3 million again, the fan support here has been phenomenal. But in terms of the amount of revenue that's out there in advertising and corporate support, a lot less.
Well, it's just the geography is kind of funky, right? You're limited by Camp Pendleton, and then the desert to the east, Mexico to the south, and the ocean to the west. And then, San Diego County is interesting because I think the city of San Diego represents roughly a third, maybe even 40% of the total population of the county. And there's no big name corporate sponsors here except Qualcomm, right? I mean, they are the Fortune 100 companies here.
No.
Yeah. So we're like this little island that's tucked away. I just wonder if there was a way they could merge the Tijuana market, Baja, as part of the overall, Nielsen metrics so it can generate more revenue.
I don't know how much corporate revenue there is in Tijuana. That John Moore's Larry Lucchino were the ones that came up with a statement. We're going to plant our flag in Tijuana and develop all these baseball fans. Well, sure, some Tijuana fans come across the border, but I just don't know there's a lot of corporate advertising in Tijuana that wants to be part of American baseball. They're supporting their minor league teams, and they support soccer in that country like you would not. That is their sport. So you're going to draw Mexican baseball fans, but I don't think there's a hell of a lot of corporate money in Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, you have to go to the Tecate Brewery. That's what I'm thinking about, man. Hotel Rosarita Beach. Okay. Hey, let's keep going here. We'll go to Callan. And Callan says, hey, afternoon, gents. React to me, the Zegras trade. We'll love to see what Verbeek does next with their salary cap being where it is. Pat has got to deliver something huge.
Well, the owner has said, we must be a playoff team next season. And he said, I'm willing to pay for it. And obviously taking on Chris Kreider's contract from the New York Rangers a week ago, that's a significant addition. I think if they had their druthers, they would sure like to move John Gibson's contract off. They've got contracts that they're going to have to pay on. I mean, Lucas Dostal, the young goaltender, there's a pay bump coming for him because he's now proven he can play in this league, which makes Gibson available in some type of transaction somewhere else. But Gibson's got a big contract. Verbeek has changed this thing. I was stunned they traded Zegras, but he just did not seem to fit what Verbeek wanted as a player, and he hadn't scored goals, and he was supposed to be a goal scorer. He got here the first 2 years, scored a lot of goals, didn't play a hell of a lot of defense, and they tried to change him. I watched him a little bit last year, and he's had injury problems too. He played a lot grittier, a lot more confrontational last year, which is great, but he did that at the cost of he scored only 6 goals. And you can't pay a kid mega money and score only 6 goals. He did that 2 years in a row. And of course, prior to that, they traded Jamie Drysdale, big young defenseman who was a high pick. That was the first guy they got as they started to kind of rebuild this thing. And Drysdale went to Philadelphia too. So all these guys are going to play for Rick Tocchet, and Verbeek's got a different type of player now. Like the roster, they got to win. They got to win. Otherwise, he might not be here as general manager a year from now. Rebuild's taken forever. It's been painful. And they force-fed all their kids and had really lousy seasons. And then last year they really grew. And then he let the coach go. And now they got Joe Quenneville coming in, and Quenneville's got a great track record of teaching. So we'll see. I guess I'm disappointed they gave up on Zegras, but he wasn't scoring goals, and they're trying to make him a different player, and maybe that's not who he is.
Well, maybe I'm just guessing here. Maybe they went into, and like you say, force-fed all the young kids just so they could see who was going to pan out, who was going to make it or break it. And that's, I think, what you're saying here with Zegras. He wasn't putting up the numbers. So
he got hurt too. He had 2 different major injuries 2 years in a row.
So do you see the Ducks, now they get rid of a couple of young players here, bring in some veterans, they can make another step forward?
I think so. I mean, last year at the trade deadline, they got a heavy-duty defenseman in Jacob Trouba, former captain, New York Rangers. Now they go out and get Kreider from the New York Rangers. That's a proven goal scorer. Now, is he going to score 35 and 40 goals in Anaheim playing with all these kids, or is he going to be a 25-goal scorer? But there's leaderships and dimension things that Kreider probably offers them. They got a lot of work to be done. The Western Conference is damn hard. Holy cow. I mean, you look at Edmonton, you look at Dallas, and you just look at the West, it's just really tough. And the LA Kings get Mitch Marner. Wow. So we'll see. Hey, don't go anywhere. You're a hockey fan. We're going to be talking about this on Thursday's podcast because that'll be the eve of the draft. I do think we're going to see trades here in the next couple of days because teams are going to be moving picks around before they draft on Friday. So don't walk away. Check my website because I'll be writing a lot of hockey here. Okay, we move on. Calvin, thanks for being with us.
Okay, this next topic, I got 2 guys that have responded to this. So I want to get both their comments in, but it's the same issue. Let's go to Johnny here, and he says, Machado sounded like a jackass threatening the Dodgers. And then Richard says, fans forum, this is the difference between Manny and Ohtani. Ohtani has the guts and the class not to respond. Manny would not, and that's why Manny is the most hated player by the Dodger fan base.
I didn't understand why Manny would say what Manny said because in essence, he was saying, there's going to be a price to pay the next time we see it. Well, why are you saying that? We just came through a real ugly set of circumstances. We are lucky nobody got really badly maimed in this thing. I'm talking about the pitches, not so much the shoving it behind home plate. But why would Manny do that? Except Manny sometimes has a history of saying stupid ass things. And I think in this case, he really did. Thank goodness Schilt tried to flip it and said, well, thank goodness we lit a candle because Tatis is okay. That's not what Manny implicated. You better light a candle because if he's hurt, you're going to pay a price. Well, why are you making those threats? We're going to fuel more beanballs. Come on, Machado. I just be classy. I thought Ohtani was really classy not to respond.
So this is awesome. This is the fun part of it all. Like Machado is a dude. He's going to be there to back up his guys. He's competitive. He's got an edge to him. And those are all the reasons we love him. So this is what we expect him to do, is to come out and say, hey man, don't be throwing at our guys, and we're going to light a candle. And that, Toddy,
no, he said, you better light a candle.
Oh, you better. Yeah.
That he's not badly hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's reading between the lines, if he's badly hurt, you're going to pay a price next time.
Why
are you doing that?
No, but why not? I mean, that's just keeping this thing going is fun. And Ohtani, that's just his nature. He's just kind of like a lovable guy with a smile. And so he just sort of waves everybody off and tries to make a joke of it.
Kershaw came out of the dugout. Kershaw was going to come back to the plate. And Ohtani's the one that saw Kershaw.
Yeah.
Go over the fence at the top of the dugout, and he was going to lead the players back on the field. And he put his hands up and said, no, I'm okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just their natural personalities coming out. And so this is where we see the characters of the game of baseball. And this makes it exciting. I mean, as a fan, this makes it really cool.
So you think the Dodgers will respond by dotting Machado? You don't want him to get skulled.
I fully expect there's going to be a little bit more of this back and forth, and it's going to build, like you say. They're not going to play each other until August 15th.
Circle that thing on the calendar. Okay, next one. Good point.
Okay, this is one here from Manga, and he says, "Hey, where is the Crusher, John Monty?" Who's that? Is that a 690 reference or something?
That's a good question. I guess so.
Okay,
I think John. Last I talked to John, I don't know, a couple of years ago. He was in real estate. He got wiped out on radio, like we all got wiped out on radio. And I think he went off and he's selling real estate these days.
Okay, let's keep moving on. Let's go here to Gordon. He goes, hey, Lee and John, another great show. What's the latest on the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation?
Shedeur Sanders. I guess I have to learn from my mistakes. That's what he said after it gets cited twice. Once for doing 91 miles an hour, the other for doing 101 miles an hour on the interstate outside of Cleveland. He got arrested twice within 3 weeks. Didn't show up in court. Pays the fine. So hope he learns from it. So that's off the field. On the field, the latest with the Cleveland Browns, Gord, is now they're saying they may carry all 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. I've never seen that in modern-day NFL football. Usually carry 2, then you have the emergency guy on the developmental. Their theory is they think there's growth there for Shedeur. He's still the 4th quarterback in the rotation. They don't want to put him on waivers because you have to waive the guy before you can re-sign him to put him on your developmental squad. They don't want to do that. They don't want to risk that. I don't know why, because if he can't play in Cleveland, he's not ready to play in Cleveland. Why would Green Bay or somebody else take him off waivers and try to put him on their roster? So they still got 4. They got a lot of issues here. You know, we just don't know if the guy that got from Pittsburgh and the ex-Philadelphia Eagle starting quarterback,
Kenny Pickett.
We know if Pickett's the real deal. We know Flacco's proven for a short window coming off the bench. Dylan Gabriel took a lot of snaps with the number 1s, the Oregon quarterback, but he's a rookie, and I think he's a little bit undersized. And Shedeur was strictly with the taxi squads during their OTA workouts. I do think that Gabriel and Shedeur are probably going to play in a bunch of the preseason games, and he'll just get a much better handle. But I've never heard anybody in modern-day football say we're going to carry 4 active quarterbacks on the 53. But those guys are weird in Cleveland. But the Browns operation is just out there.
Well, has Flacco said anything? I mean, we keep talking about Shedeur saying this and sometimes Dylan Gabriel saying that, but the Flacco has been kind of quiet, hasn't he?
No, but he's a proven commodity. But I think in the back of his mind, he's got to be saying, gee, I didn't think they were going to draft 2 quarterbacks. Their front office didn't think they were drafting 2 quarterbacks. Gabriel fell to them. And then the owner came in as Shedeur plunged down the draft board to the 5th round. And the owner came in, and I was told the owner made the pick. The owner told them, draft this guy at number 144 in the 5th round. Yeah. Well, we already got 3 quarterbacks. Draft this guy. Okay, so they did what the owner wanted. But so maybe he's shown enough that they don't want to risk putting him on waivers so they can get him through waivers and then re-sign him, put him on developmental squad. But who knows? Who knows? Preseason games are going to be kind of fun just to pay attention and see how they rotate these quarterbacks, etc. There's no doubt that Pickett's got to get snaps with the number 1 unit. I don't think Flacco hardly plays in preseason because I just think he's an insurance policy. So then the question is, when it's live fire in exhibition games, how does Gabriel play? And then Shedeur gets his cup of coffee. How does he respond? It'll be interesting.
It's like a soap opera in Cleveland. Okay, let's go here to Derek. And he goes, Mr. Saw, we are here. How about SGA?
SGA, complete player. What a leader. And I'll tell you what, he got banged all over the place. I don't know. I mean, the physicality of Indiana's defense was really impressive. And yet, he has the patent on the short-range jumper. His mid-level game is really good. And how he gets shots off with accuracy while falling backwards, and how he gets balance to get away from being defended and then pulling up and making the shot. He's a real star. Now, he's not a kid. He's one of the oldest veterans on that team of young players, but boy, he's really good. It was cool. He took the trophy after the presentation and he walked in and he wanted to see Halliburton in the Indiana dressing room. And he ran into Carlisle, the head coach, and they stopped and they chatted and they hugged. And then again, SGA went in and saw Halliburton, who's on crutches by that point in time. That was pretty classy.
Yeah, it is classy. I mean, it's their competitors, but they have relationships, which is real. As a fan, sometimes we don't like to see that sort of thing. We want them to be enemies. But good on SGA. That team was terrific. Holmgren was great. Jalen Williams was fantastic. I mean, like we talked about Alex Caruso earlier. I mean, they just are a great team, and they're going to be set for many years to come.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to see them back as a power in the NBA for the next couple of years, barring, catastrophic injuries along the way. Other teams have got to deal with impending free agency. Their guys are all under long-term contracts. That's the second youngest team in 44 years to win the NBA championship. Their average age is 24. SGA is the oldest at 26.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's stockpiling really good talent.
Yeah, good on those guys.
Okay, we move on.
Let's go here to our buddy Lenny. And he says, hey, Marner's going to my Vegas Golden Knights, I hope. Phoenix Suns, don't blame them for the trade. KD is 37 and a free agent in a year.
Agree. And they've tried. And that new owner has spent so much money, and we're going to make this deal work, and we're going to put together this package of guys. And they wound up with things that didn't fit. And they wound up with guys getting hurt along the way. The fans love Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, but he hasn't won yet. So now they're trying this with KD. KD goes to Houston. I think it's a good fit because that's a really good young Houston Rockets team. I'll tell you, I talked to an NBA guy today. That Thompson kid, the guard, they think he's dynamic, and he's growing like hell in terms of just being a complete basketball player. Houston's got
that's Amen Thompson, right?
Amen Thompson.
Yeah.
That they've got a lot of firepower, but they were just kids. Now they got an older player. Got to see if KD can play a whole season. He's had 3 years in a row where he's had some injuries that have taken him out of the lineup for chunks of time. And we'll see what Phoenix does. I mean, there's no doubt that, Phoenix got themselves a really good player in Jalen Green. There's no doubt that Dylan Brooks is going to give them a dimension of mean street basketball that they've not had. And they're getting a lottery pick out of it. So with the 10th pick, they're going to get a good player. And they got all these other second-round picks that come in different years. And if your scouting's good, maybe you find a gem in the second round. But, Phoenix is just retooling this new owner, trying this, trying that. Thing is, don't get stuck with bad contracts. That's the scary part about the NBA. If you're inheriting veterans, you may have some bad contracts. Like Clippers may love James Harden, but James Harden's got a big contract and a lot of age.
A lot of baggage.
Yeah. And, Phoenix is stuck with Brad Beal, once upon a time, a highly regarded player, big contract. Sacramento, DeMar DeRozan's moved around the league, big contract, trying to trade these guys. So it's tough to be a GM right now because the star players get their money and they get long-term, which means that they start to decrease in terms of productivity. You're stuck with baggage and stuck with contracts. So,
well, I'm just trying to think of the Phoenix Suns. Their golden eras was the Dan Marley, Charles Barkley, like it was in the 90s, right?
Yep.
And then the late 70s, wasn't it Paul Westphal?
Alvin Adams, Walter Davis, etc.
Because they won a championship in the late 70s, didn't they?
No, I don't believe they did.
Seattle or Portland did, I think, in that era. Getting my Pacific Division guys mixed up.
I don't think Phoenix ever got there. I mean, Phoenix got to the finals. Phoenix did not win.
Okay, but even with Charles Barkley, didn't they lose to the Bulls? So do the Suns have any championships?
I don't think so.
Well, that's right. You were the guy in the Valley Sun.
Yeah.
I mean, you've covered the Suns organization.
Yeah, I was there during the transition years. They were really good for a while, but they'd never had a free agent. When Jerry Colangelo ran that team, he was so proud. None of my guys ever went to free agency. Well, the whole thing changed. Guys started going to free agency, and then they had drug problems, et cetera. And then they made trades, and they had injuries, and they went through ups and downs, and then Colangelo wound up selling the franchise. But no, they were a model franchise for a long period of time. No, I was not there when Barkley got there. That would have been fun on talk radio, what he says and what I say. But they got a new owner. The owner wants to win. He's going to continue to churn it to try to see if they can make the right deal. So I think they changed the chemistry of Suns basketball with the Kevin Durant transaction. We'll see if they can get more talent in there. I tell you what, between now and Wednesday, there are going to be more trades in the NBA. And between now and Friday, there are going to be more trades in the NHL.
Yeah, it's great how those two seasons almost perfectly overlap, including the draft day.
Couple more here before we go to social media.
Okay, let's jump to social media now. And let's talk a little Padres here. And this is with Ruben De La Torre. He says, Rockstar GM, how would the Padres look with James Wood, CJ Abrams in the lineup, and Gore as the ace? Face it, the Soto trade is a failure.
Concur. I mean, when they announced the Soto trade, AJ Preller told me this trade is for 3 years. This will put us in the pennant race for 3 years. Well, Juan Soto got here year one, and what a dude hit. 243. Big disappointment. Year two, lousy start. Then he hit really well. Did they go go deep. No. And then he was gone. He was gone at the trade deadline. So that in the big picture, that transaction did not get us to where they want. They gave up after 2 years of Juan Soto and his attitude. And I guess in a sense you're correct, because by virtue of the Soto to the Yankees trade, that gave him stuff which allowed them to go get Dylan Cease from Chicago, but they still haven't gotten to the World Series. So, yeah, Wood and C.J. Abrams and Gore, and still having Hassel, that might have made them a different type team. Still a good team, but baseball here in San Diego is really good. It's really successful. It's really fun. I mean, I go there. I got friends that go to Petco Park. I say, God, it's such an experience. It's so cool. And because the game is cool. The event, the entourage of the fans and all that stuff is really special. And it's kind of funny. It's part of me that some of the fans, it doesn't matter if they're in second place or third place or the Dodgers kick their ass. Going to Petco Park is just kind of a neat place to be. It's a destination point. Now, hopefully we're going to win a division here and we'll get to cover a World Series again. It hadn't happened yet.
I think so many Padre fans are waiting for that day. But the thing that jumps out at me here with Ruben's comment is that I mentioned this earlier in the show, that these are all guys that Preller has drafted, and think about who the Padres used to draft, way back when in the first round. I mean, remember Sean Abner when they had the number 1 overall pick? He went rounded to nothing.
Mike Ivey
was another number. That's from the 70s. He had a trouble throwing back to the pitcher, if I remember, and he had a little bit of a life with the Giants in the late 70s. But there's been so many bad drafts over Padre history, and now finally we're drafting good guys. So now we've got good guys who are now playing at the higher level in terms of the trade market, rather than the dumpster diving with Kevin Towers.
True, dumpster diving because the owners wouldn't give them the money to do it.
Right.
So it's a big issue. But at the end of the day, if you keep talking World Series, we haven't gotten there yet.
No, yeah.
So if they're first place, if they're second place, putting on a good product, that's good. That's great for baseball. I'd rather be in San Diego rather than in Pittsburgh or Minnesota or Chicago or the White Sox or Miami or more ownership doesn't give a damn.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a fan, even as a player, I mean, it's a great place to be. I mean,
Petco's such an event.
Yeah, Chavez is great Chavez Ravine is great for all different reasons. Mm-hmm. Same with Oracle Park. But, you'd like to be a ball player here in California as opposed to in some of those Midwest cities.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, this is an interesting one. We'll talk a little Pac-12 with Texas State.
Here we go, yes.
Yeah, do some homework. He says, it's all about money. Other teams in the mix can't afford their exit fees, and the Pac can't afford to pay them. So the logical choice is Texas State. With their low exit fees and the lower payout, they are getting away from the Sun Belt. Not to mention the great upside for the future of Texas State.
DG, the only point is this is all about the expansion. It's all about TV markets. You can't tell me that the Pac-12 is going to have an impact in the Dallas, Fort Worth, or even Houston TV market. Why? Texas State is right here. That's it. Or the San Marcos, Texas. That's it. There's no legacy here. You got the Texas Longhorns right next door. You got Texas A&M. You got the University of Houston. They don't carry any clout. Yeah, your Pac-12 game, San Diego State, Texas State, it'll be on network TV in San Marcos. You think anybody else in the state of Texas is watching that? No. There's no draw. It's not like I got to see Texas State play Washington State. So now there's nobody else out there. That's an issue. I would have rather gone and gotten Rice. Rice has national name, some past national credentials, and last I checked, Rice is in the Houston market, not the San Marcos market. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Well, San Marcos is right next to San Antonio, which is one of the largest cities in America.
But San Antonio's got its own program. UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, has grown a great deal.
Yeah, so this is a place that's got a lot of colleges all competing against each other, not unlike Cal, Stanford, UCLA, USC, and it's a growing area. To be candid, I don't know a lot about Texas State because I didn't even know there was a Texas State.
Used to be Southwest Texas State Bobcats 1AA.
One double A. So, I mean, but to your point, the Pac-12, their options
are limited.
Yeah. What else was there? Tulane, Memphis. I mean, none of those options are all that exciting either.
No, Memphis has a bigger name, but geographically, that makes no sense at all. I just would rather have them have gone back to the NCAA and asked for a one-year waiver. Give us another year. Let us operate this thing this first year in 2026 with what we have. Let's see if we can grow. Let's see if other things change. Maybe things change. Maybe Cal Stanford wake up one morning and say, this is ridiculous. We're in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Maybe BYU says, maybe we should be in the Western time zone, and maybe BYU becomes available, though I tend to doubt it. But I just don't think Texas State brings anything to the table from a TV rating standpoint. And that's what this whole thing is about.
But it's not yet a done deal, right?
It's coming.
It's coming.
That's
but
what everybody
I just
says.
saw that they did the deal on the media package.
Well, they did the first phase of the deal with CBS TV.
Okay.
CBS, they're going to have 4 network partners, CBS, maybe Fox, the CW, etc. But their game's going to be piecemeal all over the place. And again, are you going to really get excited nationally if you're in Miami or in Chicago or in New York? You really get excited to see San Diego State play Boise State in the quote Pac-12, which is not the Pac-12 that we used to know?
Yeah. I mean, San Diego people are going to be excited, but you're right. It is small potatoes. It's a minor league thing. But just as if they open up that tournament, the right now they're 12 or 16 in the college football tournament.
It's 12.
But they're talking about expanding that.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about expanding March Madness. So if we just get all those teams in there, the Pac-12 will have a chance to prove how good they really are.
Not really. Not if the Big Ten and the SEC are going to say, oh, we're going to expand. Well, you got to give us guaranteed slots. And they're going to take most of the slots. It's just a tough time. I'd give the athletic directors, this would be a hard job to be an AD in this modern day college athletic program. And you're dealing with crisis every minute of every day, from NIL money to transfer portal to Title IX. It's a crisis. I mean, to be John David Wicker right now, they're doing the best they can in the set of circumstances they have. But I just can't buy the theory that, God, we're in the Pac-12. No, you're not. You're in the Mountain West 2.0.
Yeah.
There's not much difference. And you pissed off my friends at Wyoming, and you left behind good people at Colorado State, or what the growth was at Vegas.
Well, it is hard. And for really, especially for, Sean Lewis in the football program, he's adding guys as fast as he can because other guys are going out the back door, so that's got to be really hard.
We'll continue to cover the story. You can argue with me, DG. I want to see him do well, but I just don't know that this is not the Pac-12 that we knew and loved and respected and couldn't wait for the football season to start. Okay, next one. Okay, let's go here. Talk some Angels baseball with Kuda. And he says, Angels just smacked Houston. Taylor Ward is streaky, but when he's hot, he can carry the team. Can they get equal value back? I don't think so. And by the way, Tyler Wade and Taylor Ward played next to each other on the Angels just fine. Confusion guy. Geez, I remember Hacksaw from the mighty 690 days. WTF. Well, we were pretty good in the mighty 690 days, and then over at 1090 because we were the first ones to do it, and we kind of set the stage. It's odd he mentions that. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on Sports Talk Radio in Philadelphia with Bill Werndell. Awesome. Philly Billy called me and said, you got to come on. I haven't talked to him a couple months. I do a shot with him every 3 months or so. But so we're gonna talk all things West Coast sports with him. If the Angels are going to move Taylor Ward, that kind of sends a sign fire sale. You're trying to build something there. Taylor Ward has had a really good season with power, not a great deal with batting average. Joe Adell's had a really good season with home runs, not a good batting average. Jorge Soler is on the disabled list again. He's hitting like 217. Kids have played better and better when they've been able to keep them on the field. They just, at this point, they don't have enough. But they're bringing their kids up. They brought up Christian Moore, their power-hitting number 1 draft pick, an outfielder. He's not hitting for average yet, but he's hit some home runs. So it's just a slow build in Anaheim for them. And not all their pitchers have surfaced yet. I think there's probably a couple more coming. So they're not going to lose 99. The question is, if they could ever get this to 500, that'd be a step in the right direction. But they got to get some veteran star players in there. And it got such a bad set of circumstances with Mike Trout and obviously Anthony Rendon, et cetera. So they're just a team at this point.
Did you see the highlight of the Joe Adele play when he hit the ball to Austin Riley on the Braves? And it was a shot down the third baseline. And Riley made a hell of a play, you know, got like a Manny Machado play in foul territory and threw it back to first. But Odell thought it was a double. And he was rounding. He hadn't even touched first base. He was about to round it, and he got thrown out. So he didn't even know that the ball didn't get to the outfield. And I was just thinking to myself, is he not paying attention, or was the first base coach not giving him the right kind of instructions? It was just weird.
Yeah. Oh, they're so aggressive. They're so trying hard. They just don't have enough players on that roster right now. It's really tough. And yet these guys went to Yankee Stadium and beat up the Yankees on that East Coast road trip. I said, how's that possible? Yeah. Yeah. These guys beat the Dodgers 3 in a row. How's that possible?
Yeah. And I think they beat the Padres 2 out of 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. Scared the hell out of them too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay. Good point. Thanks, Kuda.
Okay, here we go now. We'll talk a little bit about the ice raids there at Dodger Stadium with John Lopez. He goes, Hacksaw, you're my go-to on sports because you always present an unbiased take and opinion on all things sports. You present facts spot on. I appreciate your take on recent weeks concerning the ICE immigration raids taking place not only in LA, but around the country. This will not stop at Dodger Stadium, but will spread around the country, including San Diego. Now is the time for all good men to come to the side of their country. The upcoming observance of our independence as a nation should give people pause as a reminder, the reason we fought for independence in the first place.
You want me to sign that memo now?
Yeah.
No, good point, John. I just fear that we have not seen the worst of all the things that the White House has to offer. People get upset at me. That's okay. I have my First Amendment right to sound off about what I think is fact versus fiction, etc. I wish I had an explanation as to why this is happening in our country. I don't. I have an opinion about the leadership in the White House, but I'm not going to express that opinion because I don't want this thing to blow up again at the end of the day. All I can say is we sat here, what was it, 2 weeks ago with the No Kings protest, and they drew 5.1 million people nationwide that all participated with their First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
I hope those 5.1 million people, including you, John Lopez, will use your right to vote, because that's the only thing that's going to change it. And you start that with the mid-year elections. You take every one of those 5.1 million and you make sure that they vote. And whether that's Republicans who've changed their opinion about leadership over there in the White House, whether that's Democrats who feel they got to get control of the country, the 5.1 million who express their First Amendment rights, you make sure you go back to the polls when the midterm elections and start the process to change this, to flip it and find better people. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, in this case, like we talked about how immigration plays a role in sports, you know, it's not just going to Dodger Stadium parking lot for ICE, but it's all these players. A lot of them are immigrants as well. So I don't know. I'm on your side on this one, but just because we talked about how we're fair and balanced, right? Some of the fans say we're fair and balanced. Let's get one more comment here, just to keep both sides of this. And this is from Christopher, and he says, "You are great at sports most of the time, but you suck at politics. If you're here illegally, you have no right to be here, period. You're comparing our law enforcement to the Nazis is pitiful. Also, my last name ends in a Z, and I totally voted for this in America."
Well, at the end of the day, I never said all law enforcement people were like Nazis. You go back, at the end of the day, I said the ICE immigration agents with their weapons and their face covers and their belligerence towards everybody, they're acting like Nazis. You go back and you just look at video of them rounding up the Jews in 1936 to 1940, what the Nazis did. What's happening in these immigration raids is the exact same thing. And the thing that's so bothersome to me is they're rounding up hordes of Hispanics from the workplace or at the shopping center or in the parking lot without knowledge. Is this a legal citizen? Is this guy illegal? Does he have a record, a criminal record? They're just hoarding people, throw them into vans, No explanation, no research. They're targeting everybody who's Hispanic. And then later, oh, we made a mistake, etc. Just the methodology of what they're doing, I think, is wrong. I don't know that you voted for mass deportations of innocent people, because that's kind of what I think is going on. And like I say, you go back, you research what the Nazis did to the Jews in the 1930s leading to 1940. This kind of looks the same way. That's one man's opinion on sports. Do I want to get rid of the criminal element? Hell yes. Would I like to get the illegals out of here? Yes. We need a structure and a system. The Democrats F this whole thing up. And this guy is now mass sweeping a lot of innocent people out under the mask, under the flag of, I was given a mandate to do it, so I'm going to do it, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. That's a problem.
Just make immigration fast, easy, and inexpensive. And then they're legal. And then we're all good, you know? But let's keep moving on. Let's go here, talk about the Padres in left field. This is from Cam Ward. He goes, I'm still surprised the Padres didn't bring back David Peralta to play left field after he filled in solidly for Tatis and off the bench last year. He would have done a much better job than Hayward. But the best option right now for left field wouldn't cost a small fortune is Andrew McCutchen. He's having his best season in a long time, yet Pittsburgh is already out of the playoff picture despite Paul Skeens' heroics.
Well, we had a list a couple of weeks ago of guys that I thought that were affordable for the Padres, and maybe they should make phone calls on them. McCutchen was at the top of the list. I am kind of surprised that Peralta did not land anywhere, but then again, he's a vested veteran, and maybe his price tag was too high. Maybe other clubs said, no, we're not going to sign a guy to a $3 million contract. We don't know if he's going to bounce back or have another bad season. He didn't have a good first half of the season. He played well down the stretch for the Padres. Padres didn't even bring him back, but maybe that's because he was asking for too much money. I mean, it's kind of cool. Gavin Sheets has found himself here and has played pretty well, more as a DH than an actual left fielder. And there's no doubt Jose Iglesias is this year's successful rental free agent, but you need some of these guys to contribute, and they've struck out. If you made a list of everybody else that they had here, geez, there's a lot of guys here that AJ brought in to say, well, maybe this guy can do it. Haven't done it so far, and we're only into June.
Yeah, that was like Yuli Gurriel, Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Brandon Lockridge,
Yep.
Tyler Wade. Who else has cycled through that list?
Well, last I checked, they had 7 different guys attempt to play left field.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've got to figure out something here. AJ will pull something off. You can count on it.
I think, he'll go find somebody, but there's limitations. He can't take on big salary. And if he wants to get a name, for example, we mentioned Taylor Ward. I was told there was conversation with the Angels about Taylor Ward, but he's not coming to San Diego unless there's something significant going to Anaheim, because he's got a year and a half left on his contract and he's having a decent power season. Well, who the Padres got that they're going to send up there? They've already got 2 catchers. They don't want Campusano, don't need Campusano. I can't believe that Campusano can play at the major league level. He might be a 4A guy. Who else is there in that Padre upper echelon of that farm system? Because if you're going to move a guy out of Anaheim, you better get somebody who can play in Anaheim immediately, not some guy that's playing in single A.
Campusano is a mystery, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he was I think he was a first-round draft pick, and they said he's got a great bat, but the catching needs to develop, right? He was like the opposite of Austin Hedges. And then they worked with him on pitching and pitch framing, but he never seemed to
grasp it.
Yeah, he never got to that next level. And then meanwhile, the bat's gone south. The bat's not working.
Well, not the major league level. He's hitting 323 at El Paso. He's a 4A player.
Yeah, it's really, it's frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for the organization and for him.
Okay, listen, we hope you have enjoyed this podcast. We salute you here because, again, if you're joining us, have not heard, we just busted through 8,000 subscribers in 2 years. That's pretty cool. And we thank you for being part of it. I hope you'll tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 every afternoon. Hope you enjoy Fans Forum, what we're doing in the chat box with you. Hope you'll check out all the things that DIXIELINE Lumber has to offer. Go to DIXIELINE.com. Check my website. You won't believe the volume of information I put out there. I write on the website every day of the week. Join my Hacksaws Insiders group. You'll get on the email list. You do that through the website right on the homepage. I want you to share. Tell everybody. Subscribe. When you subscribe, then you get the alerts on YouTube every time we put new video up there. We do a lot of unique and diverse things. Why? because we do sports talk the way it should be done.
Yeah.
Am I right or
That's
am I right?
Yeah,
Again,
it's nice. We talk sports pretty much the whole time, except when they do a little detour on politics.
well, politics and the intersection of sports, we're going to have an opinion.
There you go.
Hey, you have yourself, John, have yourself a great couple of days. Here comes the NBA draft. We'll talk about that Thursday. Thursday will be the eve of the NHL draft. And, of course, we'll have baseball to talk about. We've got football to talk about, too. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for being part of our team. Hope you enjoy what we're doing on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.